Thank you for inviting me to speak. My name is Mark Foltz. I'm with Google, and I'm going to speak about efforts going on primarily within the second screen working group and community groups. I've been involved with those groups for about 4 years now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what problems we're trying to solve and kind of what progress we've made thus far. So what do I mean when I say second screen? Really, the group was formed to make kind of connected displays and also speaker devices accessible to the web. There are hundreds of millions of these devices now available, mostly in homes, but also in businesses as well, encompassing a range of everything from smart TVs, HDMI dongles that you plug into an existing TV, connected speakers. All of these are connected to the internet, and we wanted to make sure that web applications and users were able to share web content from their devices they use today, like laptops and mobile phones, to these devices as well. Often you can use it to create a better experience, especially for media. So you find a great cat video on the web and you want to see it on your big screen. We wanted to make that possible. The first area we really focused on, the first kind of API that we incubated in those groups was called the Presentation API. And the basic concept here is that one web document would be able to ask a different device, like a smart TV, to present a separate web document. So we designed an API that allows a web page to find out if there is a kind of device available nearby that can render a web document. If so, the user has to basically give it permission and select a device to share that document with the other device. In most cases, we send the URL of that other document to the other device and it renders it natively. But we allow a messaging channel, kind of like post message, between the page that initiated the presentation, which we call the controlling page, and the page that's showing this new document, the receiving page. And a common scenario is you find some media on the web, or maybe navigate to several pages and find media you want to present on another device. We allow that initial web page to create the presentation, connect to it, send it either binary data or messages to tell it to render media, and we allow the controlling page to reconnect to that presentation even after navigation. So if you're browsing a site, you'll be able to maintain that state on the other device. We wanted to kind of allow a flexible set of use cases, so not just kind of allowing one user, for example, to interact with the presentation, but we have a way for multiple users or multiple pages to actually interact and control with the presentation. So that kind of opens it up to use cases like gaming and collaboration, and think of like a shared playlist, for example, of videos that you might want to view. The second API we really focused on was more focused, instead of general web pages, we focused on media specifically. So we added a API called the Remote Playback API, and this allows a web page to do something similar, but just for the content of a single media element. So there's now an API on HTML media element called .remote, and through that API you can find out if there's a compatible playback device nearby that can play back the media in that element. Often it's a video file, for example. If there is a compatible device, again, the user has to give the page permission to send the media to the connected screen. Once you kind of initiate the connection between the page and the remote screen, in most cases, the browser will send the URL of that video file or the media resource to the other screen, where it can then fetch and render it locally. But the browser and the screen are responsible for keeping the media element state synchronized. So the nice thing about that is that video sites don't really don't have to worry too much about their video being remoted. The video element in most cases should work about the same. It also allows us to, for example, provide this from default media controls, so that website authors don't necessarily have to do as much to enable this kind of functionality. So we defined these APIs, and they're great. They've been implemented in Chrome and other browsers, and they've seen pretty consistently good usage. The big downside we found in kind of getting these as broadly adopted as we'd like is that the protocols that kind of talk between the browser and the connected device are generally proprietary. Sort of what browser you use or what website you're visiting kind of determines what devices you can use. So after kind of doing the API level work, we really kind of focus more on the community group side of our effort, and have been, for the last 3 years, have been incubating essentially a suite of network protocols we call the Open Screen Protocol, that we hope will give the foundation for allowing broad adoption of these APIs across a variety of devices and vendors. We have really did a kind of bunch of research figuring out what people were doing in this space, what kind of building blocks we could build on. And we really didn't want to invent new low-level network protocols. So we chose things that are already standardized or being standardized in the IETF, like multicast DNS, MDNS, QUIC, and CBOR, kind of as the foundation. And on top of that, we built a set of application or API-specific protocols that allow 2 pieces of software to implement these APIs. Our plan currently is to kind of wrap up the 1.0 draft of this protocol, kind of hopefully by the end of this year, early next year. We're working on implementations in parallel through an open source library to help vendors incorporate this into their products. And we hope this will pave the way for kind of broad adoption of both the protocol and these APIs. Now that we're also kind of working on the future use cases as well. We started seeing situations where, for example, sites might not have a URL to media they want to present. Instead, they might want to generate the media themselves using things like WebGL or Canvas, and maybe eventually they'll have access to codecs as well, like using ideas like web codec, which I think there might be a breakout tomorrow on. But in general, the underlying protocol often involves media streaming from the browser to the connected device. And eventually we'd like to open that up to the web application as well. So if it can create its own media or fetch it however it wants, it can just stream that directly to the remote device. So these are some of the ideas we're starting to incubate as well in terms of API functionality. That's all I had. So if you're interested in this use case or just want to find out more about what we're doing, again, my name is Mark Foltz. It's the Second Screen Working Group. Feel free to grab me afterwards or later at TPAC. Thank you.